The movie opens with our leading lady giving an interview live on the morning show. She explains her work to the audience, who are in awe of her. She tells the audience that her belief in science and data is a sure way of finding a partner. The interviewer asks her about her own dating life, which gets her slightly flustered. They take a couple of questions from the audience. One man from the audience asks her how someone can calm their nerves before a date, and another woman asks, "How can you know if you are ready to start dating again?" Seeing an opportunity, she pairs the two of them together, asking them to go on a date themselves. It's awkward for the two of them, but they agree, gaining a round of applause from the audience. One last question is taken from the crowd. They ask her about Dr. Lovestruck, who is a romance column writer for a magazine as well as her nemesis. She dings him publicly, calling him a fake on reality TV. Her dislike of Dr. Lovestruck is apparent. Two journalists are watching this interview, offended that Kendall dinged Dr. Lovestruck openly on public TV, mainly because one of them, Nathan, is Dr. Lovestruck. Nathan is having a casual conversation with his colleague Larry about his big plans for the anniversary dinner. Levy tells him what he has planned, but Nathan is appalled. Nathan wants him to go bigger with his plans, suggesting a grand gesture. Larry takes him up on his suggestion. After the show, Kendall is having breakfast with her editor, manager Ella, who also happens to be a close friend. They discuss this morning's show. Ella thinks it was a stroke of genius pairing the two of them on live TV. She tells Kendall that it would be excellent publicity for her books. Ella also asks her to submit her next book idea soon because even though she is a big author, publication houses will not wait forever. Kendall promises to work on it and come up with an idea soon. Kendall meets her sister Joy Turner later on in the day. Kendall is reading an article that Dr. Lovestruck has published about grand gestures. Needless to say, Kendall thinks grand gestures are a waste of time and do nothing for a relationship. Joy thinks grand gestures are romantic but does not want to go against her sister because she is the love expert. Kendall concedes to disagree. Kendall asks Joy about her boyfriend, who is a paramedic. Joy tells her that they are getting serious and that she wants Kendall to meet him. Joy also warns Kendall not to interrogate him like the love expert but to meet him as her sister. Kendall begrudgingly agrees to be on her best behavior. Nathan is called in by his manager at work to give him the next assignment. It's an author profile on Kendall. Nathan is not too pleased with this because he does not believe in her methods. At Kendall's book signing, the store manager, Grant, comes over to check on the arrangements. Kendall thanks him for setting up the event. Ella walks over and notices Grant. Ella asks Kendall who that is, and she brushes him off as just the store manager. Ella hints at the possibility of Grant and Kendall when Kendall confirms they have nothing in common apart from books. She found out during a 2-hour-long date where they spoke only of books and nothing else. Kendall thinks Grant might have a crush on her. The book event begins, and Kendall reads out a passage from her book that talks about love being a choice. It goes on to explain that knowing that your partner chooses you every day is the most romantic thing ever. This is well received by her adoring fans, and they applaud her words. The book signing event is almost over when Nathan approaches Kendall. He does not tell her who he is but asks her to autograph a book for Larry. She mistakenly thinks he is Larry, and Nathan corrects her. He introduces himself as Nathan and says that he has already read the book. She is curious to know what he thinks about the book. He tells her that he found the book entertaining. This annoys Kendall, and she is miffed. He is curious about her own love life and asks her to elaborate on that. She tells him that she uses scientific methods, wherein she talks to a large audience and gets data, letting the data speak for itself. Ella walks in and recognizes Nathan as a reporter for the Pacific Times. Nathan introduces himself properly, this time as a reporter, and tells her that the Pacific Times wants to do an author profile on her, handing her a business card. The book event is over, and Ella and Kendall are about to leave when the manager of the bookstore walks up to them. Ella introduces herself to him, and Grant begins acting very weird. The kind of weird you get around someone you are crushing on. The next day, Kendall and Nathan meet at a coffee shop for their interview. As they sit to talk, an older couple walks over to them, thanking them for the coffee. Nathan tells Kendall that this is something his father used to do, picking up the tab of a complete stranger as a gesture of kindness and goodwill. He does not like that she now knows and wonders why the barista told the older couple that it was him who paid. He then blurts out that he knew the barista here and that this was his typical arrangement. Realizing that it sounded weird, he tries to explain himself, making the situation worse. She makes fun of him, calling him clever and theatrical. She begins to analyze him, calling him out for trying to put on a show for her, by charming people to get them to see him as generous and thoughtful. He thinks she is being cynical, but in reality, she does not like him because he calls her research-filled book entertainment. He counters this argument by saying that matching two people on live TV is, in fact, entertainment. She says that she matched them based on research, and a single date does not lead to a relationship. He begins to wonder if she may be right. Kendall realizes that this could be a good opportunity for her to test her own theory, an account of her own personal dating experience, using her science and research. She pitches the idea to Ella, and she loves it. Ella wants to know what inspired this idea, and she confesses that she met someone with whom she wants to try her methods with. She considers him a blank slate to experiment without any expectations and hence the perfect target. The next day, Nathan is filling up his cup with coffee when Larry comes and talks to Nathan. He tells him about how his grand gesture of anniversary plans went south, and even then, it was the most memorable experience that they'd had. Nathan tells him that he interviewed Kendall for the profile and cannot believe how she could take her love is science stance so seriously. His friend is intrigued by his interest in his subject when usually, after the interview, Nathan has totally forgotten about his subject. His friend mocks him, hinting at something more possibly brewing in Nathan's mind. Kendall is in her house, creating an interactive compatibility test for her approach to dating Nathan. She is trying to account for all the building blocks of a relationship. Joy rightfully thinks that Kendall has lost her mind, but is nevertheless impressed with Kendall. She drags her out for a dinner date with Joy's boyfriend. The three of them are discussing the first time that Joy met Taylor. Joy ended up meeting him at a totally unexpected place. Kendall is concerned that Taylor, being a paramedic, may not know the world of art that her sister moves in. Joy tells Kendall that they fell in love at first sight. Kendall cannot agree and tries to correct them by saying that love at first sight does not exist. She's actually being a bad sister and trying to fix her sister's narrative instead of accepting it. Kendall decides to call Nathan, and he has some follow-up questions. They decide to meet on Sunday. Both Kendall and Nathan are talking to their friends about the meeting. Nathan's colleague asks him if it is a date or an interview, and Nathan is confused about it. Ella comments that Kendall is meeting him the same day she is having a professional photo shoot done, implying there was more to the meeting apart from interview questions. Kendall also seems confused about this. Ella questions this theory by asking her about what would happen if she doesn't feel the bells and butterflies for him. Kendall shrugs off that suggestion because she does not think that it will matter. She believes that first dates are all about building familiarity and getting rid of awkwardness. Meanwhile, Nathan gets an idea to pit Dr. Lovestruck's advice against her advice and see which one is better. He is also worried about crossing a line he may not want to cross. Nathan decides to take Dr. Lovestruck's advice and go all in with this date. He is buying her flowers that are thoughtful and hopes that they will convey the thought and effort he put into the flowers. His friend points out that he is starting off the relationship with a lie. He points out that they are not in a relationship, and secondly, he won't lie to her but just has to omit certain things. Before Kendall's date/not date, she stops at the bookshop to sign a couple of books. Grant comes over and talks to Kendall. He asks her a love question. He tells her that there is a woman he has been trying to woo, whom he has a professional relationship with. But no matter how many hints he's given her, she does not seem to reciprocate. He asks her what he should do. She thinks that the woman he is referring to is her and very awkwardly tells him to not do anything, and that if she is interested, she will come to him, indirectly trying to ask him to move on. He takes her advice hesitantly. Kendall goes to the pop-up fair to meet Nathan, and they get talking. He hands her the flowers and begins to explain the origin of the flowers. She is not interested and instead asks him about Dr. Lovestruck. Since they work for the same magazine, she thinks he might know the person. She tells him that Dr. Lovestruck is doing their readers a disservice because he is lying to them. She compares the advice he gives about first dates being memorable to first dates in a calm setting that encourages casual conversations. They have lunch in the park picnic style, and they talk to each other about their pasts. She tells him about a horrible breakup that made her begin trying to find the solution to the dating problem. He asks her about her own dating experience as the romance expert, showing her that he cares about her life, not just as the author. She feels open enough to discuss her problems when it comes to dating. She tells him that most of the time, people are either trying to impress her or are skeptical of her. He sees a notification on his phone and spontaneously suggests a different date, Dr. Lovestruck style. He takes her to a drop-in judo class. This is very spontaneous for her, but she enjoys judo and has been to summer classes. She is ready to throw him around, and in the process, they end up entangled in a heap on the floor, laughing hysterically. The moment is fun and sweet, and they seem to be perfect together. She crosses off the first step in her four-step process of signal interest. Kendall is in a staff meeting with her editor, discussing marketing strategies for the book. The team is excited, and so is Ella. Kendall is slightly apprehensive but gets on board. Kendall tells Ella about the judo date. Kendall thinks that she has chemistry with Nathan because she is doing the right things to generate interest. Kendall notices Ella blushing and asks her if she has met someone. Ella tells her it is really new, and she does not want to jinx things. After a bit of bickering, Ella asks Kendall when she is going to see Nathan again and if she is going to tell him that he is the subject of her book. She clarifies that she is the subject of the book, and he just coexists in the book. She chooses the next date, which is a climbing obstacle course. She climbs up and takes her spot, and he joins her, continuing to climb to the highest rung. They have a good time on their date, but he has already done this before. He tells her that he enjoys talking to and getting to know her, that it was refreshing to be with someone who does not hide things. He wants to admit his lies to her, but instead, she feels guilty and tells him about him being a subject in her book. He does not mind and teases her about all her research. He wants to be named Spike in her book. They connect meaningfully with each other, making Kendall cross out the second step in her four-step process, connect meaningfully. Kendall meets Joy at her place as she is getting ready for a big gallery opening. Joy is putting some final touches on some paintings while Kendall tells her about her date with Nathan. Kendall is not sure about him, but Joy convinces her that there may be more to it than just science. The next day at the magazine, Nathan's boss tells him that he loved the profile. Nathan checks with his boss if he can tell her about the article, and the boss leaves it up to him. The features editor position just opened, and Nathan wants that promotion. Nathan is extremely conflicted about what he is doing by not revealing to Kendall that he is Dr. Lovestruck. He goes back and forth, playing the devil's advocate, trying to figure out the direction he wants to go in, while Larry looks on helplessly, unable to interject a word edgewise. Once Nathan is done with his external monologue crisis, he walks away from Larry, thanking him for the advice. Poor Larry was left speechless. Nathan and Kendall are on their third date, and they are in a park, enjoying local seafood. They talk to each other about their lives, getting to know each other on a more personal level. She is grateful to him for being so supportive of the book, and he is left feeling icky because he knows the lies he keeps from her. Joy invites Kendall for dinner, and we see Joy, Taylor, and Kendall discuss her latest book. Taylor quotes a line from her book and compares it to his and Joy's relationship. She tells both of them that she got some extra passes for them for the gala, and they spend the evening together. Kendall and Ella go shopping to pick out an outfit for the book gala. Ella tells Kendall that she is bringing her date to the gala and that she is excited. Ella asks if Nathan is coming with her, and Kendall tells her that he would be there anyway to cover the gala for the magazine. But Kendall realizes that this could be a good experiment to see how they would do together in an external environment, and begins to treat this as another science experiment. For the next date, Nathan takes her to a wine tasting event where he bets he can identify the wine she likes. While they are tasting wine, they talk about their dreams, and she tells him about her dreams of a family and children. He agrees with her and tells her he wants the same kind of love. He talks about all the good things about it, like growing old together. She asks him if he will be able to manage the nitty-gritty of life, the temper tantrums and screaming. He agrees that the nitty-gritty is what makes life epic. Kendall melts at this and realizes that they have a lot in common. Unexpectedly, the couple that Kendall matched on live TV walks up to them and thanks her for coupling them up. She is extremely happy about it and surprised. Toward the end of the date, he takes her to the seating area outside, where they share a meal, a romantic dinner, as Nathan puts it. The next day, at the office, Nathan is spaced out, finding himself enjoying her methods and falling for Kendall. His boss tells him that there is an uptick in web interactions for the Dr. Lovestruck column, and that the board wants to meet Dr. Lovestruck in person. Nathan agrees because it's good visibility for him. Kendall comes to Joy's gallery opening and spends some time looking at her art. Nathan gets to the gallery opening and is happy to meet her sister. He understands that this is a big step for Kendall and introduces himself to her sister, wanting to make a good impression. Nathan is at his computer, trying to write the Dr. Lovestruck article, but is struggling. He keeps getting distracted by her book and begins to read it instead of writing his column. The next day, he meets with his boss. Before Nathan can get a word out, his boss knows that Nathan wants the features editor position. His boss tells him that he is being promoted and will be the features editor from now on. He is also responsible for finding a replacement for Dr. Lovestruck. Nathan is happy, but that's not why he came. He tells his boss that he's dating Kendall. His boss has concerns that might affect his writing, but he assures his boss that he did not alter the profile in any way because they are dating. His boss is okay with it, and everyone is happy, yay. Nathan invites her to a nice restaurant because he wants to talk to her about something. He tries to tell her but keeps getting interrupted. He tells her about the promotion, and she is very excited for him. He is about to tell her he is Dr. Lovestruck when she sees Grant sitting a few tables away from them. She quickly tells him about how she thinks Grant has a crush on her. Nathan sees this, and he also sees Grant with another woman. Grant sees Kendall and begins to make his way over to them, along with Elle. That's when she finds out that Ella and Grant are dating, and the person Grant had asked about was Ella and not Kendall. The four of them end up having a dinner date. Nathan is, yet again, unable to tell her the truth about himself. After the dinner, Nathan teases her about her misconception in a light-hearted way, and she laughs along with him at her stupidity. Kendall spends the next few dates perfecting and finalizing her proposal, which she submits to Ella a few days later. Ella suggests that her completion of the proposal would also mean an end to the experiment. She suggests that Kendall has fallen in love. Kendall tries to dismiss it, but Ella assures her that the chemistry is real. Kendall is left wondering if she might be crazy about Nathan after all. Ella suggests giving a copy of the book to Nathan. At first, Kendall is apprehensive but concedes because she feels as a writer, he may be able to give her constructive advice. Ella begins reading immediately, and Kendall leaves. Nathan is in the middle of writing his Dr. Lovestruck article when he opens the door to find Kendall. She tells him that she wants to drop something off, and he invites her in, confessing that he, too, has some things he needs to talk to her about. She hands him the book. She asks for his honest opinion since he is a major part of her work. He accepts her book and then tells her that there are a few things he wants to talk to her about. He is making coffee for the two of them when she sees the Dr. Lovestruck column on his desk. She thinks he is editing the column, and he finally tells her that he is Dr. Lovestruck. He wanted to tell her, but because of the NDA, he could not. Now that he's got a promotion, someone else will take the column, so he is not obligated anymore. She is shocked and can't believe he lied to her. She is appalled by his behavior, especially because she was open about using him as a subject for her book. But he did not tell her that he was using her for his column as well. He takes responsibility for his actions and apologizes. He tells her that since they've been together, the column has been the best it has ever been, and that's because of her. He begs her to trust him, but she cannot. She storms out of his place, angry and hurt. She goes to her apartment and rubs all the notes from her whiteboard in frustration. Her sister Joy comes over, and she discusses her pain over Nathan. Joy tells her that she is in love with Nathan. Kendall cannot believe it, vehemently disagreeing. She could not believe that she could fall for someone who kept secrets from her. She thinks that may be due to a flaw in her process, and she feels like a scam. Joy, being the adoring good sister that she is, tells Kendall that even though Kendall is the guru of the science of love, she is the guru when it comes to all things Kendall. Joy wants her to go to the gala with no thoughts of science and just keep an open mind. It is the opening night of the Emerald City Book Gala, and Kendall looks stunning in her pink dress. She can't help but look around for Nathan. She tries to pull out of the book deal because she thinks her theory is faulty, but luckily Ella doesn't allow her to speak and drags her off to the event. Meanwhile, Nathan knows he screwed up and is desperately trying to make it better with a grand gesture as Dr. Lovestruck for the last time. She is introduced on stage, and the audience has a chance to ask her questions about her new book and anything else. Kendall takes her seat and gives the audience a brief about her upcoming book. The anchor wants to know what she found out using her own methods, and she sidesteps the question by building intrigue around the book instead. The floor is open to questions, and Nathan is the first person to ask a question. He staged this in such a way so that everyone else's mics are turned off, and only his is on. He asks her if she can forgive him, and if she could ever build that trust back. He tells her he has read her work and admires it. He tells her that even though they look at love very differently, he still believes a grand gesture is worth something. He tells her that he loves her, and he hopes she can give him the opportunity to show her how he feels. She is floored by his admission in such a public manner that she says yes. He walks up to her, handing her a pink rose, continuing the conversation outside. He tells her that he read her book, and he thinks Spike is a very lucky guy. She smiles at his cheesiness and kisses him. It's a family-friendly, warm ending, with everybody enjoying the rest of the evening together, happily in love. Regardless of this being a Hallmark movie, it evokes the same sentiment as a feel-good movie, when you just want to watch something straightforward and sweet.